I'm not eating. I'm not sleeping. I'm just worried about my family. If y'all see him, please call authorities and help my family get home.
In the early hours of April 18th, 2017, on Easter Day, 16-year-old LaTanya Janelle Carwell was celebrating her 16th birthday, but just a few hours later, she would vanish from her home without a trace. In response to her disappearance, her mother would go to Facebook Live to appeal to anyone about her whereabouts.
Yes, it's the utmost important because my daughter has never, ever been away from me this long, a period of time without no call, text, or anything. And I need my baby home at the almost 15 days ago. That's how important it is.
But this worried behavior was only a facade for a sinister secret. It wasn't until March 8th, 2018, when LaTanya's body was discovered in a shallow grave in an abandoned backyard on Golden Camp Road in Augusta, badly decomposed, and worst of all, lifeless. As police scrambled for answers, they uncovered a devastating truth. The one behind it all was her own mother, who had been pretending to look for her.
I'm not eating. I'm not sleeping. I'm just worried about my family. If y'all see him, please call authorities and help my family get home.
This shocking discovery left everyone with the haunting question: why was LaTanya killed by the very woman who birthed her? This is the heartbreaking case of LaTanya Janelle Carwell. In the spring of 2017, Easter Sunday brought a mix of celebration and quiet joy to Augusta, Georgia. Just days earlier, on April 17th, LaTanya Janelle Carwell, affectionately known as Janelle, had celebrated her 16th birthday. Janelle lived with her mother, Tanya Tripp, her stepfather, Leon Tripp, and her younger sister, Tanisha. Her biological father was not part of her life, and she had been raised by Leon since Tanya married him in 2015. To those who knew her, Janelle was a loving and compassionate young girl with a warm, infectious smile. Her presence left a lasting impression on everyone she met. Friends and family often described her as a bright light, uplifting, kind, and deeply caring. An honors student at T.W. Josie High School, Janelle was both intelligent and creative. One of her teachers, Lori Miles, once described her as everything you could ask for in a student.
She was everything that any parent could have asked for. She was a critical thinker.
Janelle had a deep love for writing, often filling the pages of her journal with her thoughts and stories. She was also an active member of her community, always lending a hand at local events and bringing people together with her kindness. Her dreams, however, stretched far beyond her hometown. Janelle had set her sights on becoming a doctor, a career she felt called to pursue. She wanted to study medicine and dedicate her life to helping others. But tragically, Janelle's dream would never come true. For her 16th birthday, Janelle celebrated at home, surrounded by family and friends. They threw a small party, a joyful cookout that doubled as both a birthday and Easter celebration. Laughter filled the air, the grill was going, and Janelle was beaming with happiness. It was a day full of love, warmth, and everything she enjoyed most. Later that evening, after the guests had left and the house quieted down, the family settled in for the night. But in the early hours of the morning, Janelle was awakened by someone. At around 1:30 a.m. on April 17th, her stepfather, Leon Tripp, came into her room. He told her that a friend had called him needing help. His car had broken down in Clarks Hill, South Carolina, roughly a 30-minute drive from Augusta. Leon explained that he was getting ready to head out to assist, but he wasn't exactly sure where to go. His phone being outdated and lacking built-in GPS made navigating unfamiliar areas difficult. He needed someone to help him find the location, so Leon decided to wake up his stepdaughter Janelle to ask if she could accompany him on a trip to Clarks Hill. He wasn't confident using the GPS on his own, and since Janelle had a newer phone and was more tech-savvy, he thought she could help navigate. Janelle agreed without hesitation. Leon then informed his wife, Janelle's mother, Tanya, about their plans. Unfortunately, Tanya couldn't go with them. She was battling cancer in both her brain and lungs, and her health required her to rest as much as possible. So Leon and Janelle set off alone, but they never returned. As hours passed and night fell, Tanya began to grow increasingly anxious. Neither Leon nor Janelle had come home. She tried calling their phones multiple times, but neither of them answered. A red flag, as it was completely out of character for both of them. Tanya couldn't shake the bad feeling in her gut. Less than 24 hours after they left for South Carolina, Tanya picked up the phone and called 911. Tanya reported her partner Leon and daughter Janelle as missing.
Can I help you?
Yes, ma'am. I was calling to report a missing person.
Give me 1 second.
I pray to God that they died, but it's not like they're not to answer the phone.
Once the police received the reports, a search was launched immediately. Authorities began trying to trace their movements and issued a public appeal for any information that could help locate the missing pair. Meanwhile, family and friends turned to social media, spreading the word and urging anyone with details to come forward. Tanya even went live on Facebook, visibly distressed, pleading for help and expressing how desperately she needed them home, especially her daughter, Janelle.
I need my baby home, like 15 days ago type home, because she has never been away from me this long. And I know she's going out of her mind trying to find me or trying to get home. So, yes, I need my baby home. I do.
Okay. So you making a plea to the people?
Yes, please. If you see her, call the authorities so they can do their job to get her home, because every law enforcement agency around this world know about this case. So, yeah, please, if you see her, just call 911.
She shared that they had never been apart for this long and the silence was unbearable. As the search gained attention, community members stepped up to help in any way they could. A reward fund was established, offering money to anyone with credible information about Leon and Janelle's whereabouts. Flyers were circulated, posts were shared, and prayer circles were formed. The local community rallied around Tanya, offering her strength, support, and constant prayers.
Today, a group called Sisters Protecting Sisters passed out flyers with Carwell's picture on them. One volunteer says the purpose is to keep her face known. The event organizer says even though she never knew Latanya, she wants the community to know the teen's story.
I just feel like it's our responsibility as Augusta to make sure we bring her home. She's a part of us. We're a part of Augusta. We live here. We love here. And a lot of us were raised here. I just feel it's our responsibility to care about her.
People were doing everything they could to bring Leon and Janelle home, but despite everyone's best efforts, days passed and still there was no sign of them.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Jenny Montgomery.
I'm Brad Means. Thank you for staying with us as the family of an Augusta teenager who went missing, along with her stepfather, wants the public to know they are not giving up hope of being reunited. News Channel 6's Renetta Dubose joins us in the studio to tell us how the family is coping and their plans to help bring their loved ones home.
Brad, it's been a week and a half of sheer agony for the immediate family. Latanya Carwell's mother and uncle have come forward pleading with the public to help share this story so that their loved ones can be found.
I'm not eating. I'm not sleeping. I'm just worried about my family.
The past 11 days have been hard for the mother of 16-year-old Latanya Carwell.
If y'all see him, please call authorities and help my family get home.
That was until the police found something crucial. By the end of April 2017, police located the white truck Leon Tripp and Janelle had driven off on the night they disappeared. The vehicle was found abandoned just a mile from their home in Augusta, but Leon and Janelle were nowhere to be found. The truck was empty, no signs of life, no clues, just left behind as if they'd vanished into thin air. Investigators began to wonder if they had even made it to Clarksville at all. That theory soon started becoming possible when authorities began tracing their mobile phones. Data analysis revealed that neither Leon nor Janelle had ever crossed into South Carolina. As part of the ongoing missing persons investigation, police also reviewed Janelle's social media activity. At just 16 years old, she had been frequently seen online, but since the night she left with Leon, she hasn't been online. For someone so active online, this was deeply concerning. When police searched the abandoned truck, they hoped to find something that might point them in the right direction. They looked for signs of a struggle, for blood, for any indication of foul play. But the truck was clean. No physical evidence, no fingerprints out of place, nothing to suggest what had happened. While finding the truck didn't bring answers, it confirmed one thing. Something had gone very wrong, and not long after, someone came forward with a lead that would change everything. With the case now making headlines, tips started flooding in. Multiple people came forward claiming they had seen Leon Tripp alive, not in Augusta, but in Atlanta, more than 2 hours away. The troubling part? He was alone. Janelle was nowhere in sight. These sightings sent a chill through investigators. Up until that point, they had believed both Leon and Janelle were missing, possibly in danger together. But this changed everything. If Leon was out there on his own, the question remained, where was Janelle? And why wasn't she with him? What if Leon wasn't a missing person at all? What if he wasn't a victim, but a suspect? Detectives quickly dug into Leon's connections in Atlanta, hoping to trace his steps. It didn't take long to discover he had friends and acquaintances in the area, people he could stay with, people who might help him keep a low profile. As more pieces came together, the police's suspicion deepened, so investigators decided to check Leon's past. But when they took a deeper look into his past, they discovered some things that made the hair on the back of their necks stand up. As police continued investigating, they uncovered some deeply troubling facts about Leon Tripp. He had a long criminal record that included charges for assault, aggravated assault, theft, stalking, and even cruelty to children. He'd been in and out of prison several times. Investigators also learned that Leon and Tanya, Janelle's mother, had met while he was still behind bars. He was serving time for aggravated assault when their relationship with Tanya began. They started exchanging letters, which led to prison visits, and eventually, the two got married while Leon was still incarcerated. When Leon was released in 2015, he moved in with Tanya and her 2 daughters, Janelle and Tanisha. At the time, it seemed like a new beginning. But with Leon now spotted alone in Atlanta and Janelle still missing, those early red flags couldn't be ignored. The case took a dramatic turn. Police were no longer treating Leon as a missing person. They now believed he had kidnapped his 16-year-old stepdaughter, and he was officially declared a wanted man. Police were desperate to find Leon. Time was ticking, and there was still a chance that Janelle might be alive. They feared he could be holding her somewhere against her will, but despite the growing evidence, Tanya, Janelle's mother and Leon's wife, refused to believe Leon had anything to do with her daughter's disappearance. The day after the warrants were issued, reporters from local news channel 6, during an interview, asked Tanya if it was possible that Leon and Janelle had secretly been in a relationship. Tanya responded,
"In my heart and mind, I feel like he didn't kidnap our daughter."
This Augusta stepfather went from missing with his stepdaughter to being her accused kidnapper.
These kids go with their dad all the time. So you mean to tell me every time they go somewhere with him, it's a kidnapping? Just because I didn't know it the second that he left with her?
That statement seemed odd and wildly inappropriate for a mother with a missing daughter to say, but the odd behavior did not end there. Tanya stood by Leon, insisting he was innocent, clinging to hope that both he and Janelle were simply lost or in trouble, not that he had harmed her. As the investigation intensified, police renewed their appeals to the public for any information on Leon's whereabouts. Days passed with no solid leads until a major breakthrough finally arrived. On May 23, 2017, 1 month after Leon and Janelle vanished, authorities received a tip. Leon had been spotted at a U-Haul depot in Atlanta. Acting quickly, officers rushed to the location. They surrounded the area to ensure he couldn't escape. And sure enough, when they arrived, Leon Tripp was there. But what investigators discovered next would change everything. When police arrived at the U-Haul depot, they were stunned to find not just Leon, but also Tanya, Janelle's mother, right there with him. Tanya wasn't back in Augusta where she and her children lived. She was with Leon in Atlanta. This was a major twist, especially considering that for weeks, the police had been searching for Leon, unaware that Tanya knew exactly where he was. Naturally, this raised more questions than answers. If Tanya knew where Leon was all along, where was Janelle? Why hadn't she said anything? Was Tanya somehow involved in her daughter's disappearance? But when the police questioned her, Tanya's response was shocking. She claimed that her presence in Atlanta was purely coincidental. According to Tanya, she had been on her way to find both Leon and Janelle, driving around searching for them when she just happened to spot Leon on the side of the road. She said she picked him up, and that's when the police discovered them together at the U-Haul depot. But the question remained, if Tanya had been searching for them, why hadn't she reported any of this earlier? Why had she kept silent during the investigation? The police were skeptical of Tanya's version of events. Her story kept changing, and it was becoming clear that she was hiding something. It wasn't just the inconsistency of her story that raised suspicions, but also the fact that, all along, she had been aware of Leon's whereabouts while the investigation was still ongoing. As a result, the police made a decision. They decided to arrest not just Leon, but Tanya as well. Leon was charged with kidnapping, while Tanya faced charges for hindering the apprehension of a criminal. When the news of their arrests was announced, the local community was more than shocked, confused, and most especially betrayed, since this whole time, they had been there for her, supporting her. Meanwhile, Leon's interview took a surprising turn. He maintained that he had nothing to do with Janelle's disappearance. He claimed that the last time he saw his stepdaughter was on April 17, 2017, and that, contrary to what he had initially told the police, they never headed to South Carolina. Instead, he admitted they went straight to Atlanta. Leon said that once they arrived in Atlanta, he gave Janelle some money and told her to take a bus back to Augusta. He insisted that was the last time he saw her, and he had no idea where she was after that. The police were not buying Leon's version of events either. His account didn't make sense and didn't add up. There were too many inconsistencies. But what happened next would set off a chain of events that no one could have imagined. Remember when Tanya claimed that the reason she didn't go with Leon and Janelle that night was because she was just too sick, because she had cancer in her brain?
So I got Janelle. He said I got her to ride along with me because I didn't want to bother you because you were sick. He said I was going to ask you, but you were sick, but I didn't want to bother you.
It turns out that was just one big lie. Tanya didn't have cancer. When the truth surfaced, it threw the entire case in a new light. The police had already suspected that Tanya was being deceptive, but this was a huge twist. Digging deeper into the case, detectives discovered that Tanya had likely fabricated the entire story about Leon's supposed trip to Clarks Hill in South Carolina. She had used this as a cover-up to give Leon more time, hoping to mislead the authorities. The police began to suspect that Tanya had been complicit from the beginning, helping Leon cover up what had truly happened to Janelle. With every piece of evidence pointing in the same direction, the police suspected that Janelle might be dead. What had started as a missing persons investigation was now clearly a homicide case. The police were now focused on finding her body, knowing that they had to piece together the truth of what happened that night.
Coverage you can count on continues with Richmond County law enforcement and other agencies conducting multiple searches in the homicide case of 16-year-old LaTanya Carwell.
All resources on deck as Richmond County Sheriff's Office and a joint search team canvassed the Terrace Manor neighborhood and Regency Mall for the body of LaTanya Carwell by foot and by air.
We did find evidence. We did find information that is connected to this particular case, and we feel in the future that's going to be significant.
What happened next would leave the entire community reeling. On March 8, 2018, almost a year after Janelle disappeared, the police received a call from a member of the public. The caller shared that they had noticed what appeared to be a bone sticking out of the ground in an abandoned backyard on Golden Camp Road in Augusta, the same area where Janelle had lived. The house was vacant at the time. The police quickly responded to the scene, and when they arrived, they carefully collected the remains. Due to the advanced state of decomposition, it was clear that the body had been buried for some time. This made identification difficult, but dental records were used to confirm the identity of the deceased, and the result was devastating. The remains were confirmed to be those of 16-year-old LaTanya Janelle Carwell, known as Janelle.
Coverage you can count on begins with a community saddened by the news confirming the death of a local teen whose kidnapping story went national. Authorities positively identified human found in a wooded area behind a home in Augusta as 16-year-old Latanya Janelle Carwell. News Channel 6's Renetta DuBose has been following this breaking news all day, and she's been following the story since last year when it began, and she joins us live on Golden Camp Road at the site where those bones were found. Renetta, how was the match actually made?
Dee, those remains were identified through dental records, and the county coroner says it is indeed Latanya Janelle Carwell. Sad news for many people who have been following this story, not just in the CSRA, but all over the world. And those people now want justice.
She had been buried in a shallow grave behind a vacant house in Augusta. Her body severely decomposed, making it impossible for the coroner to determine the exact cause of death. Reports from the autopsy indicated signs of blunt force trauma with possible asphyxiation. Investigators pieced together that the killer likely struck Janelle to subdue her before using additional means to ensure her death. At the scene, strands of the ligature used to commit the murder were located not far from there. With all the evidence the police gathered, it was enough to make an arrest. Leon and Tanya were both charged in connection with Janelle's death. Leon faced charges of first-degree murder, kidnapping with bodily injury, cruelty to children in the first degree, and concealing Janelle's death. Tanya was charged with second-degree murder and also concealing the death of her daughter. Following their arrest, Tanya Tripp's bond was initially set at $500,000, but it was later revised to $880,400. As for Leon, he was denied bond altogether. Prosecutors initially pursued the death penalty, citing the premeditated and heinous nature of the crime, but in 2023, they re-indicted the couple, opting instead for life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. After several delays, Tanya and Leon finally faced their day in court in 2024. The trial was a gut-wrenching process, with prosecutors presenting a wealth of evidence that detailed the disturbing events leading to Janelle's death. Forensic analysis, digital communication records, and testimonies from witnesses painted a suspicious picture of the couple's increasingly erratic behavior in the weeks leading up to Janelle's disappearance. Leon's defense attorneys argued that Tanya was the mastermind behind the crime, manipulating Leon into carrying out the terrible act. On the other hand, Tanya's legal team portrayed her as a victim of manipulation, claiming that she had been coerced by Leon into participating in the cover-up. That was until a shocking revelation was shared during the trial. Prosecutors introduced evidence that revealed that Tanya and Leon Tripp had allegedly solicited a third party to kill Janelle on 3 separate occasions between 2015 and 2016. These shocking revelations were only the beginning. At the crime scene, forensic experts found strands of ligatures that matched DNA from Leon, confirming his direct involvement. This discovery made it impossible for Leon to maintain his claim of innocence. Furthermore, cell phone data revealed damning information about their movements. Pings from local cell towers placed both Leon and Tanya at the dump site shortly after Janelle's death, solidifying their presence at the scene in the critical hours following the murder. As if that wasn't enough, the most damning piece of evidence was presented. The prosecution presented forensic soil samples in court. Experts testified that the dirt recovered from the grave matched soil particles found in Leon's pickup truck. Despite the overwhelming evidence, both Leon and Tanya continued to maintain their innocence, insisting they had nothing to do with Janelle's murder. The trial was initially set for March 25, 2024, but it is currently on hold due to an appeal from the Augusta District Attorney's Office regarding the exclusion of certain evidence. The case is now awaiting a decision from the Georgia Supreme Court. Leon and Tanya remain in jail as they await trial. Meanwhile, Janelle's funeral was held just 3 days before her 17th birthday at Great Young Zion Baptist Church in Augusta, Georgia. The deeply emotional service brought hundreds of mourners together to celebrate Janelle's life, while also mourning the tragic and untimely loss of a young girl who had her entire life ahead of her. It was a somber reminder of the love and support that surrounded Janelle, even as her killers await their day in court. The heartbreaking case of Latanya Janelle Carwell is a reminder of the devastating impact of betrayal and violence. As the trial progresses, The overwhelming evidence against them brings hope for justice. Let me know what you think in the comments section below.